This is why I never talk about mushroom foraging. Now, of all the people on the internet talking about foraging, I feel like I talk about mushrooms the least. There are some accounts that are dedicated specifically just to mushrooms, but I don't think I could ever do that living in Central Texas because it's an arid region. So there's two reasons why I rarely talk about mushrooms. One is just living in an arid region, I rarely see them. And when we do get periodic rains, they only last for a short time before they sort of start to fall apart. Another reason is that all the knowledge I share is generally based on historical practices of indigenous people in North America. And there's a lot of tribes that just never ate mushrooms. In fact, they considered mushrooms to be just poisonous across the board. That's not a bad stance to have, considering some mushrooms will absolutely kill you and there's nothing you can do about it. And mushrooms can also be very difficult to ID for beginners, depending on the species in question needing to do things like staining or taking a spore print. But one notable exception to this that I know that various tribes did eat is the oyster mushroom, like these right here. The oyster mushroom's pretty easy to ID. They have gills that go all the way down to their point of emergence there at the stipe, and they're generally this shape and that color, and they typically grow on standing dead wood of trees such as this willow here. But it's been a really dry few years in my area, and we just got a series of a few days of rain, so I thought I'd go out and look for some mushrooms to finally cover some. And I've been walking for about 2 or 3 hours, and that's the first one that I saw. And these are obviously a little bit too small to be worth harvesting, and also I just generally don't like to harvest the first of anything that I see. I'll leave these the wildlife to spread the spores, and hopefully we get some more rain and I'll find some more mushrooms for y'all, because there are some really cool ones. There were some chicken of the woods that I also found, but they were way too high for me to reach. I'll have to come back with a ladder. But I thought I'd talk about mushroom foraging. It's just not a practical source of food in my area, and that's probably true generally for most arid regions such as the Southwest. But in East Texas, there's tons of mushrooms, and you can definitely get a ton. And when I lived in the Bay Area, I would forage oyster mushrooms all the time. You can find flushes that weigh several pounds, or up to 5 or 10 pounds per cluster. And a cool thing about mushrooms, which is noted by California natives historically, is that they reliably fruit from the same spots time after time. And so you can go to a branch like this time after time, and it'll keep flushing out oyster mushrooms until that mycelium is exhausted. Definitely never eat mushrooms raw. All mushrooms should be cooked.